Today I'm going to cover some movies that are movies and fake, but hey, it's pretty good. Here's one that's Enemy of the State. Now this is starring Will Smith and Gene Hackman. And they start off, they meet with a representative who wants to discuss a new type of counterterrorism legislature. Sound familiar? And he wants to make it so the government basically has no restrictions on who they watch, where they go, anything else. And it all happens the congressman has to abandon the bill to avoid the scandal, and they have a cover-up, and the lead man is cleared of all charges. But long and short of it is spying still will go on. Now, we know that this is probably happening on all of our accounts. I mean, I go to the store, and the next thing I know, I have an advertisement in my email for something from that store. Now, how did they know I was in that store? I didn't buy anything. I didn't use anything, but they know. The next movie that I'm interested in is called Soylent Green. Now, this I watched as a very young lady, and it was based on a novel, Make Room, in 1966. It was dated in 1973 and took place in the year 2022. Now, the effects of overpopulation and pollution have caused severe worldwide shortages of water, housing, and New York City now has a population of 40 million. Well, that didn't happen. But only the elite can afford spacious apartments, clean water, and natural food. They have to fortify them with security systems and security guards for the tenants, which is something that we all know is something that we take for granted. It tells the story of a detective, Robert Thorne, who lives with his friend, who's a professor, was a college professor and police analyst, and referred to as a book. He's investigating the murder of a wealthy and influential William Simonson, a board member of the Soylent Corporation, which he suspects was an assassination with the help of his concubine. It goes on, but it turns out that they find out that they'd come up with a different food that was able to feed people, and finally they could get meat. It was reasonably priced and everything. And, it was set off as organic. Sound familiar? We now can get organic meat. Well, this organic meat turned out to be human. And at the end of the movie, the guy is tossed into a truck that's going into the plant that makes the meat. And it's human meat. It takes place in 2022. Stars Charlton Heston, and it was probably the scariest thing. I never thought that in the United States we would have organic meat. Well, we do. So I think twice before I'd eat it. My next movie is called Outbreak. It's made in 1995 and way before the pandemic hit the United States or the world. In 1967, a virus called Motaba, which causes a deadly fever, is discovered in the African jungle. To keep the virus a secret, The army destroyed the camp where the soldiers were infected. 28 years later, a virologist is sent to investigate an outbreak in Zaire. He and his crew go out and they find a white-headed monkey that is the host to the virus and has been smuggled into the country. As he wanders the streets and touches people, they become sick, and it just goes on and on and on. And the outlook is not good. Millions of people die, and it just reminds me of the pandemic. Thank you. My next movie is probably one of my favorite. It's called Dave. Now, this takes place in 1995, but with what's going on today, it would not surprise me. It starts with the President of the United States has a girlfriend. She works at the White House, and they've got plans to meet for a romantic interlude. So the members of his cabinet come up with the idea that there's a man that looks a lot like him, and they're going to use him as a double, like a stunt double. He's supposed to just walk by the crowd and maybe wave to him, but that's it. In the meantime, the president gets into a sexual interlude, suffers a major stroke, one he's not going to get back from, and they ask this man to take over and act like he's the president until they can do something, because they don't want the vice president to be the president like the law says. So they use this man, and he realizes that he owns the key, and he starts doing things that they don't appreciate. He balances the budget. He cuts favorite things that the cabinet has on their own agenda, and things get a little hot. But his wife does discover that it is not her husband, and they go down and they find him on life support in the cellar. They get together and they decide that they're going to fix everything. They fire one of the men that were conspired to do all this, and they made the vice president honorable and arranged so that they knew that the president was no longer with us. It's a very interesting movie because I would not be surprised if Biden uses a double. I have on my website where you can see a picture of him and Hunter, and it only shows like between their mouth and their nose, and you cannot tell them apart. I have a 50-50 that people say the wrong one. It's just an example. But this is something that I believe could happen.